Economic recession is not a destruction of wealth. It is merely a transfer of wealth. And true wealth is your time and freedom. While sound money stores and builds it, currency drains it. The current economic crisis we are experiencing is merely a bump speed into the main event. A greater economic crunch is approaching, which means a greater wealth transfer is at the door. Join and follow the WealthSmith on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to learn about sound money and how to better position yourself for the greatest wealth transfer that is about to hit the globe. Welcome to WealthMine.
News came out on February 21st stating that the finance minister, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, has declared that the federal government is not going to borrow from the IMF. And the reason she gave is that Nigeria does not have a problem of balance of payment. Here is what she said in her own words. The IMF is really lender of last resort when you have balance of payment problem. Nigeria doesn't have balance of payment problems per se. It has a fiscal problem, which is that major revenue source has lost so much value. What IMF does for you, she said, is that it gives you programs for reforms, and we are already doing as much reform as any IMF program would impose on Nigeria. Around October or so, it was on news that the federal government was considering or had agreed to borrow from IMF. That was October 2016. By February 2017, we are told that the federal government is no longer going to borrow from IMF. And now that leads us to a question: that is this a good thing for the Nigerian economy? Does that mean that Nigeria will experience an economic growth or boom in this time of global economic crisis because we need the money? So if the federal government is not going to take the money, is it a good thing for us? In my own conclusion of the whole matter, I think it is a possibility that Nigeria will experience economic growth in this time of global economic crisis. If you have been following the WealthSmith programs and series, you will know that we say that there is a bigger crisis approaching, bigger economic collapse approaching. This is not a conclusion we made up. It is from the analysis we have read from economists and financial experts. It is a global phenomenon because of what is going on all around the world. Some countries are already experiencing it, and that the present economic problem we are experiencing is just a tip of the iceberg, that a bigger crash is coming. So if a bigger crash is coming and Nigerian government is rejecting IMF loan, is that a good thing? And for one simple reason, she says that we don't have balance of payment problem. Some economists might understand what balance of payment is, and a few other persons. But to the layman out there who doesn't know what balance of payment is, I will try as much as possible to just explain it in the simplest of terms I can find. There is balance of payment, and there is balance of payment crisis, and there is also what we call balance of payment surplus. If a country has balance of payment crisis, what it means is that there is more money going out of that country than coming into that country. Let me put it simply that way. If a country now has balance of payment surplus, it means there is more money coming into the country than going out of the country. Now, Mrs. Adeosun said that we do not have a balance of payment crisis. So, what that suggests is that we have balance of payment surplus. What it means is that we don't have more money leaving Nigeria than is coming into Nigeria, which means we have balance of payment surplus. As a result of that, the federal government is not going to borrow from IMF. Why do I believe that Nigeria will experience economic growth in the time of economic crisis? My definition of economic recession is transfer of wealth, not the destruction of wealth. So in the time of economic problems, wealth is transferred, wealth is not destroyed. If we look at history, in the days of Abraham, years ago in the Egyptian civilization, there was economic recession in the time of Abraham. While every other neighboring countries and every other nation around the world was experiencing what in those days was called famine, which in today's terms we'll call economic recession. While they were experiencing that, there was wealth in Egypt. Abraham had to even move to Egypt because there was wealth in Egypt. All right. The same thing also happened some years down the line during the time of Isaac. When economic recession happened during the time of Isaac, there was economic growth in Egypt because Isaac was on his way to Egypt as his father also went to Egypt. About 2 generations down the line, there was economic recession again during the time of Joseph. At that time, Joseph was a government official in Egypt. We found out that again, when the world experienced economic recession, Egypt experienced a boom during the time of Joseph. If historically some countries have experienced economic boom in the time of economic crisis, why not Nigeria? Another reason the economic future of Nigeria is looking bright is because of what some experts are saying. For example, an economic expert, Professor Uche Uwaleke, has said that Nigeria will come out of this present recession and that Nigeria will experience economic growth. His own reason is that the crude oil price is recovering and it is trading currently in excess of $50 per barrel, and that could bring about such economic growth. And hear what a monetary historian, Mike Maloney, has said about countries that will survive or even have economic growth and boom in this coming global recession that is going to hit everybody.
One of the questions that I've had a few times, and it came up again just lately, is, with all of the turmoil that I see in the future, do I see any countries that will prosper or be rewarded in the scenarios that I'm talking about? The countries that are going to do the best out of this are probably the countries that are the poorest right now. Third world countries, and all of the first world countries are going to see the giant convulsions.
The third reason I believe Nigeria will experience economic growth and economic boom is because of what this present government, this present administration is doing. For example, the finance minister herself believes that the economy of Nigeria can grow organically without funds coming from outside. That is a good step in the right direction, and because of that alone, I see a very bright future. Even if most part of the world will be experiencing crisis, I believe Nigeria will be experiencing economic growth and boom, and other nations can come and learn from what Nigeria is doing.